All right, let's dive into a leadership case study that's over 2,000 years old, but feels like it could have happened last week. This is a story about how being a good person, having the best intentions, can actually get you killed. Seriously.
We all try to be honorable leaders, right? We want to be fair, principled, do the right thing. But what if those very principles paint a target on your back? That's the core question we're digging into today. What's the real cost of being too noble for your own good?
And just so we're clear on the stakes here, we're not talking about getting passed over for a promotion. We're about to break down how a leader's rock-solid integrity became the very reason he was assassinated. It's a pretty sobering lesson on power, politics, and, well, survival.
So, let's get the scene set. We're in ancient China, in the state of Lu, and there's a succession crisis brewing that honestly sounds a lot like a modern-day corporate drama.
To make this easy, think of it like this. You've got Duke Yin, who's basically the acting CEO. He's the older brother, but technically not the legitimate heir, so he's just there to keep the seat warm for his younger brother, Duke Quan, who is the rightful successor. The key thing to know about Duke Yin? He has absolutely zero ambition to keep the top job. He's just doing his duty.
And look, this wasn't just some vague promise. The guy had a detailed 4-step exit strategy. He was going to govern for a bit, mentor his little brother, hand over all the power when the time was right, and then ride off into the sunset to a retirement estate he'd already built. I mean, on paper, it's the perfect, most honorable plan you could imagine. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, here's what went wrong. It was a classic, fatal information gap. See, Duke Yin knew his intentions were pure. He was so sure of his own honor that he just didn't talk about it. He assumed everybody else, including his brother, could just see his plan and knew he was a good guy. But that silence, it created a power vacuum. And in politics, a vacuum always gets filled with suspicion and paranoia. And of course, that vacuum is the perfect place for an opportunist to step in. Enter our villain, a court official named Yu Fu, who saw all this uncertainty not as a problem to be solved, but as a ladder for him to climb.
So Yu Fu goes to Duke Yin, the acting CEO, with this just jaw-dropping proposal. He basically says, hey, everyone thinks you're doing a great job. Why give it up? Just say the word, I'll take care of your little brother, you get to be the official ruler, and you can reward me with a nice promotion. This is the moment where everything could have been saved or lost.
So now, Duke Yin has this ticking time bomb of a proposal on his desk. His gut reaction is spot on. His follow-through, however, contained a catastrophic, fatal error.
Now, true to character, Duke Yin is disgusted. He immediately shuts it down. A firm, principled no. From a purely moral standpoint, he totally aced the test. He proved he was exactly the honorable man he thought he was.
But this is the crucial moment. Saying no is the easy part. It's what he did, or more importantly, what he failed to do in the seconds right after that rejection that sealed his fate.
He shot down the conspiracy, but he completely failed to manage the conspirator. By saying no, Duke Yin turned himself into a massive threat to Yu Fu. He was now the one guy who knew about this treasonous plot. And he just let this cornered, desperate man walk right out the door? Big mistake.
And the consequences for that single inaction were immediate, they were brutal, and they were final. You don't corner a man like Yu Fu and expect him to just go home and think about what he's done. He's gonna fight for his life.
And here's how fast it all falls apart. That very same day, Yu Fu runs straight to the younger brother, Duke Quan, and completely flips the script. He claims Duke Yin is the real traitor, plotting to hold on to power forever. This single lie sets the stage for the next decade, until finally, Duke Yin is murdered at his own retirement estate, of all places. And the tragic irony? His own brother takes the throne, convinced he just took out a dangerous usurper.
It's just a brutal story, but the reason we're talking about it today is because of the incredibly clear, practical lessons we can pull from it for our own careers. So, let's shift gears and build a modern playbook from the ashes of this tragedy.
Okay, lesson number 1. This is all about understanding the power you actually hold.
Duke Yin's big mistake was that he treated the power of the state like a personal possession he could just decide to give away. But if you're in an acting role, that power isn't yours. It's delegated, it's loaned to you. And that means clear rules and official processes are your only real shield.
So, unlike Duke Yin, you can't rely on quiet goodwill. If you're the acting team lead or inter-manager, you need to formalize everything. Get your mandate in writing. Set up official check-ins. This isn't about red tape. It's about self-preservation. It protects you from the exact kind of confusion that got Duke Yin killed.
Lesson 2 is crucial. It's about what to do when your own UFO shows up with a shady proposal. Duke Yin got the first part right. He said no, but he totally missed the second and arguably more important step. The moment you reject someone's unethical idea, you're no longer just a colleague. In their eyes, you're now a threat, and they will act accordingly.
So let's bring this to the office. Someone suggests you fudge some numbers and you refuse. Your job isn't over. You need to immediately switch into risk management mode. You document that conversation in an email to yourself. You consider escalating it to your boss or HR. You have to create a paper trail to protect yourself from what they might do next.
All right, lesson 3 is about a trap that so many well-meaning leaders fall into: noble silence.
Duke Yin figured his plan to step down was so noble that it spoke for itself. He couldn't have been more wrong. What he saw as a quiet, selfless sacrifice, everyone else saw as secretive scheming. Your good intentions are basically worthless if you don't communicate them. In fact, they can be a liability.
The lesson here is dead simple. Be transparent, almost to the point of over-communicating. If you're taking over a project temporarily, announce your exit plan on day 1, not on your last day. It costs nothing, and it completely drains the swamp of paranoia and suspicion that Duke Yin drowned in.
And that brings us to the final lesson, which might be the toughest one to swallow. Kindness is not enough.
Duke Yin was a good, moral man, but his goodness was, well, it was soft. It was naive. He thought his morality was a suit of armor, but in a game where everyone else is driven by self-interest, morality alone is more like a paper shield. Your good intentions need to be armed with strategy.
Think about it. Duke Yin's entire plan was based on a private promise. In the real world, a private promise isn't a strategy, it's a massive vulnerability. So for you, this means developing political savvy. It means using official announcements, contracts, and formal handovers, not just a handshake and a "you can count on me." You have to protect your good intentions with structure.
So when you boil this whole tragic story down, what's the one thing we absolutely have to take away? It's this. Being a good person is not the same thing as being an effective leader, and it's certainly not the same as being a survivor.
This really is the heart of the lesson. Duke Yin was playing by a strict moral code in a game where the other players weren't using a rulebook at all. His integrity, because it wasn't backed by any shrewdness, actually became his biggest weakness.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. It's great to be kind, to be principled, to have good intentions. We need more of that. But it's not enough. You also have to be smart, you have to be strategic, and you have to be ready to defend those principles. So ask yourself, is your kindness armed, or is it leaving you wide open?